changing the world, baby. Welcome to the next episode of the Bald Avenger show. We are doing this live. I am Jason Cisneros, also known as the Bald Avenger. And we are going to have a great show tonight. I'm known as the Tattooed Guru, the King of the Misfit Nation, and a legend in my own mind. Yes, I did. We're going to be talking tonight's show. We're going to be talking a little bit about being American from my perspective and from what I see going on out there in the world. I've spoken at length about what I think is happening in the economy. I'm going to be talking a little bit about that tonight as well. But for the most part, I just wanted to take a little bit of a break because we seem in this country, for all of my foreign watchers and so on and so forth, go ahead and just understand that this is going to be a perspective about the place that I live, a place that that I was born, the place that I've been blessed to be raised in, and I just wanted to take a little bit of a different tact because we live in a day and age right now where everybody's at each other's throat, and we're trying to destroy each other. What's up, Andrew? Welcome to the show, brother. And I wanted to take just a step back, just to go through some of the things about this country that I love, and that are so great that I think get missed in the mixed. And that mix is where you've got warring sides, really, Republican, call it conservative, progressive, whatever you want to call it. But we're at each other's throats, like, sort of. I guess there's been other times in histories where we've been at each other's throats, but it's different right now. It's personal destruction at the expense, I think, of America. And America always started out as an idea. It started out as something that a direction that started in other people's minds. They went back through history and they looked at all the things that worked. They looked at all the things that didn't work, and they came together around this idea called America. And then they expanded on it over time. What's up, Christopher Kaysen? Welcome to the show. What's up, Lauren? Good to see you, buddy. And we came together around this idea that we could rule ourselves and that we would have a representative democracy. And they put into the Constitution of the United States a way that we would, a set of rules for not only for themselves, but that differentiated themselves, why we were leaving this other nation, all that kind of stuff. It's not going to be a history lesson so much as it is just an opportunity, because again, these shows are topics that I'm interested in, topics that I get feedback on, topics that I think that we need to speak more of, so that we can make sure that we keep things in perspective. Because right now it's like this big destruction, and we have to destroy the other side. And that's not what America's been built on. It's never been built on destroying the other side. It's been about using a war of words, a war of ideas, using our language, using our ideas, using the concepts, and then fighting passionately for those concepts with leaving an open mind or keeping an open mind that the other argument can be there not as an example of me being wrong, but fighting my idea out so that it's filtered all the way down to its best value. Best value to who, right? It should be the best value for the people that are this country and for future generations. Sometimes you have to sacrifice. We just watched D-Day, the D-Day celebration, and anybody that wants to be inspired, wants to look back on a generation called the greatest generation for a reason. You want to look back on people that sacrificed, literally just throwing their bodies in front of bullets for their brothers, for the idea of America, for the freedom that we get to experience. And it was very inspiring to me. And that's what sort of spurred the idea that I wanted to talk about America, about being American, and how you can be proud of where you're from. You can be proud of your lineage. You can be proud of those things without it making somebody else feel bad, right? There's been so many examples over the course of this week where I've been confronted with people's feelings as opposed to looking at things through a lens of support, looking at them through a lens of how can I learn? We have become a nation, not all of us, but a big portion of it, where we think that our feelings actually matter. Facts matter. How things are approached matter. What's the outcome? Are people actually inflicting pain, or are they easing suffering? Those are the two filters that I try to run things through. And yeah, there's things that people say that piss me off. They get me fired up. They get me, worked up. They make me angry. But at the end of the day, the idea is to have a conversation with either with myself or with that other person or that other group of people, and figure out what it was that spurred that in me. Now, if somebody's harming someone else, that's where we step in. And I think that's a big portion of the greatness of America. So tonight's going to be just about really looking at things through the lens of gratitude for the place that we live. It's looking at it through the lens of hope, looking at it through a lens of things hopefully are going to get better, but it's the way that we think about them, the way that we interact, the thoughts that we have that turn into our beliefs, that turn into our actions, that then produce our results. And so I just text just a wide array of you over the course of the last couple of days. And I just wanted to know what you feel about America. I've got there was a really great, if anybody follows Dinesh D'Souza, is a fantastic gentleman that I absolutely love the way that he thinks. He thinks about things, and I'm not sure exactly what his lineage is, but he looks at it through the lens of reality, right? And I want to go through some of the things that you all said. I'll make sure I got them up here. But this was from a diverse group of people, and I just got Cleo's. I want to start out with hers. Why? Because she's a warrior. Call her a veteran, call her whatever you want to, but be careful what you call her, because she's a badass. So, but I wanted to ask her first, that what does America mean to you? And this is a woman who I love, who I respect, who I've had hours and hours and hours of conversations with, trying to understand her perspective and the things that she's gone through and the trials and tribulations that she has faced. And the first thing that she wrote was, being America, always defend the weak and the innocent. Now that's coming from, again, from a woman who put her life on the line, who was in Mogadishu, was on the front lines, taking those bullets for this idea of America. And that's a good representation in my mind. That's a good representation of what I believe our military all believe, that we always defend the weak and the innocent. And you can fight, you can get angry, you could get upset. Oh, we're fighting over oil. We're fighting over this kind of stuff. I'm sure there's some of that in there. But overarching, right? Look at the country that you live in. Look at the day and age that we live in. Look at the opportunities that you're afforded because those men and women that sacrifice their lives, that are no longer here, that put themselves in harm's way for us to be able to have these types of conversations. And what are we doing with it, right? It would be like as if you took your most prized possession, right? Your child or an heirloom or whatever it is that's precious to you, that you took and you said, you know what, this is something that I'm willing to fight and die for. And then what did they do with it? Right? Did they just take it and hawk it at if it's an heirloom, did they just take it and hawk it at a pawn shop? Or, that child that you defended, that you put your life out there for, what did they go on to do with their lives? And I think that's the responsibility that all of us should be undertaking at this current time, as opposed to some of the things that we're going through right now. I was wanting to destroy the president, whether that was Obama or Trump, whatever it is. Those are the leaders of our country. And we seem like it seems as if we've decided that we can destroy the leader of the country and maintain a strong nation and still do the things that we do. So going back to Cleo's point there, that she said that we always defend the weak and the innocent. Number 2, always defend the country in any way possible, even against negative talk. Number 3, always show pride for our nation that so many fought, bled, and died for, and showing with action that very same pride. And those are 3 really powerful points made by a soldier, a warrior, somebody who has put her life on the line for you, for me, and for this country to defend what's right and to defend those that are defenseless. And I think that that's one of the greatest things that I love about this country. Another buddy of mine, just to give you a wide array of the people that are giving you their opinion. There was a female badass warrior, veteran that served. And then I asked Mike Lewis. Mike Lewis is a Jewish guy that happens to live up in the Pacific Northwest. I won't tell you everybody where he lives. That's probably not good. But he said about America, the genius of our founding fathers, the Constitution. He said, Donald Trump. The way Americans have come together in times of need, something that, and he put in parentheses, something that I fear is fading, an American global generosity. All of those points, right? All of these points that he's making, and we'll get to these. And those of you that are watching, I'd love to hear what you love about America too. Please put them in the comments, because this show, we're doing it live. It's a new format. And then we have it edited and put up for podcasts on all the platforms. But I'd love to hear what you have to say. So those are the 3 things he said. Joshua Berglund said, the illusion of freedom. Okay, here's an opposite view. Moral contradictions and fear of truth. Okay, lack of identity. Now, again, that's his ideas. I asked their ideas. I didn't say you must be pro-America. I didn't say you must be whatever you say. I just wanted to know, what's your feelings about America? And then we could have a conversation about where that might be right, where it might be wrong, where are the things that we need to talk about, and what's the overarching philosophy behind how we're going to approach the continuing challenges that we face. In business, we always talk about the fact that a business exists to solve problems, right? And the problems that we solve, we're either solving low-level problems of how am I going to make payroll? How am I going to make payroll? How am I going to stay in business for another week? Those are some sort of problems. Without problems, there is no such thing as a business. A business solving no problems is out of business. And then there's higher level problems. What are we going to do with all this capital? How can we hire faster? How can we buy more equipment? So on and so forth. So it's there to solve problems. Just like America, if you look at the trajectory of problems that we solve, they're becoming better and higher level, higher quality problems that lots of countries, trust me, as I've traveled around the world, and that's one of the things when somebody else said here, well, as I've traveled around the world, I realized that the problems that we face in this country are not near as dire as they are in other countries. But if you haven't traveled, if you don't pay attention to anything but your favorite propaganda outlet, then you're probably not getting that viewpoint. You're probably not getting the reason why people are coming through our borders, the reason why everybody wants to come to this country, for the opportunity that we have. Emily, and this is, again, I wanted to take a big swath of humanity. Emily, who is a woman, a gun lover, and an attorney. She said, I live in a country that has the greatest freedom in the world, including gun ownership and freedom of speech. I live in a country that gives men and women the greatest opportunities for success in the world. We have a duty to learn and stay actively involved in the patterns of success in our history that have brought us to the level of success that we're at. We're on a dangerous trajectory with the loss of faith, family, and personal responsibility. There's yet another feedback. Those of you that are watching, put in, what do you think about America? What's your experience been? Put them in here. Let's get some of your feedback. Lauren Michaels Harris, that most of you know, is a dear friend of mine, happens to be Black, happens to be gay, and happens to be an American business person, right? And he says, the primary reason I love being an American is that it saved me from having to migrate here to become one, right? The lucky sperm donor sort of scenario, where we were raised here, you were born here, but if you do no research, you think that this is the way that the rest of the world is. And I guarantee you it's not. I've been multiple places. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Number two, he said, because democracy being the backbone of this country, I've always had reference points and examples of what to strive toward in order to become, as well as examples of what not to become. In other words, that this country has given him an opportunity, no matter what his station was in life, no matter where he was born, that he saw, he had examples of people that have made it from where he came from, and people that have been in much better places that have fucked it up, right? So number three says, I'm not forced to watch the news or read magazines or see things on television that are basic human rights that I have never experienced, as in the case with so many other people in countries other than America. Another great realization. Eric Michael Collins, I put you guys together. His is Michael's, yours is Michael. He said, America is the greatest country in the history of the world because strong men and women selflessly did what was best for their country above their personal whims. Giant. I mean, I'm just telling you, the patriots that I love, the people that I love, we can disagree, but if you have that fundamental belief that you put your God, your family, and your country ahead of your own personal needs, you're going to live a pretty decent life, no matter what that ends up being. Most laws that are passed to tax or regulate our free will are usually disguised as morality or compassion, which in reality strips away that freedom. Okay. Two opposing thoughts in the same mind, right? He gave a positive and then a negative. That is what I love about most cogent individuals that I know, are able to hold two conflicting thoughts in their minds at the same time. Third one, he said, is if more Americans traveled the way that you and I have, they'd see both of those beliefs as clear as day. When people gave up and when people stood up, I know more people would make different judgments if they knew the potential consequences of giving up their freedom. So true. And when he says, when we've traveled together, we've been in the Middle East, we've been in Africa, we've been all over this world traveling together, and we saw a lot of things. We've been in China. We've been all over the world together, and we've seen those types of regimes where you're stripped of that basic personal freedom, you know. And yeah, there's freedoms that we don't have here, and so on and so forth. I get it. But compared to what? Compared to where else in the world? And if you don't have that knowledge, how are you going to make decisions for you to support this country and to support its continued growth so that we leave it a better place for our kids? So that's that. I wanted to go back to your comments. I think I saw Lauren made another comment here. But to be honest, sometimes our country does things that we should not be proud of. What about in those circumstances? Shouldn't the truth always come first? Guantanamo Bay. Okay. Let's talk about that just a little bit, because it's an important point that he's making. What happens when we see a wrong in the world and we're legislating for it? What we're doing, because people have made it political, what we're doing to people at the border is a disgrace. Okay. I think it's a blight on this country that they can't sit down and make that a humane scenario. We need people to come into this country, but we are going about it the wrong way. We're allowing children to be used multiple times, traded back and forth because of the laws that are on the book, and everybody just wants to sit around on their ass and let that kind of stuff happen. So the great thing about America in that instance is we can stand up, right? To Eric's point and to his point is that we look at what we're doing and we can see those things because we've wiped so many bad things off of the books that when a new atrocity or when something that we need to focus on pops up, we're able to see it crystal clear. We're able to look at it and go, you know what, that's wrong. And if we put the lens on Democrat or Republican instead of what's right, then you end up making bad decisions. Because when you make, I say this, I've said it 1,000 times if I've said it one time, that when your emotions are high, your intellect is low. And so when you're pissed off, you're not looking at what is the opportunity for us to improve this situation? What can we do to make it more humane? What can we do to help these people that are trying to leave these countries? What can we do to get them through here and vetted in a way that is safe for our country and safe and healthy for them? I don't believe that you've got to be on one side or the other of that debate, right? It's not all you got to build a wall and keep everybody out. Right? Or you got to build a wall and let everybody in, or you don't build a wall at all and you just let what's going on happen out there. And you can have a wall with borders and barriers. They work. Okay. I've seen them work around the world. You can do your research and you can come at me with your emotional walls don't work, blah, 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 but they do. And what it does is it makes it better for people when you're an inclusive country like this country, when we do want immigration, when we do want new people from other countries. It makes this country a greater place when there's rules in place, and it makes it greater for both people, the people that are coming here and the people that live here. Okay. So, anyway, going back to what I believe Lauren was saying is that skepticism and pessimism, like, it's not to avoid it, right? I don't think you should put on rose-colored glasses any more than you should put on bullshit-covered glasses. I think that part of looking at this is how do you gauge your skepticism or your pessimism? Because I believe that there's two ways really to look at it, and it comes down to, is your pessimism solution-based? In other words, you look at a situation and you go, and if you look at it and you go, oh, that's a Republican idea, and dismiss it out of hand, how many great things that have happened in this country, including abolishing slavery, came from Republicans, right? How many? And then you're a Republican as you just abolish completely out of mind because it's a Democrat. How many great things have come about because of Democrats? Really great things, workers' rights, right? Different things that have come up through history. And so if you just are dismissing it out of hand and your skepticism and your pessimism is based around just that, I'm going to be skeptical because I don't want the other side. I don't want the other side to win. I don't want the other side to gain any seats in Senate or whatever it is. That is such bullshit. We've got to be fighting out the war of ideas. And what's happening is, if you don't have a good idea, if you don't have a solution, if you're afraid, this is what I'm watching happen on the Democratic side. And there's some people that I really respect that are running on the Democratic side. But when somebody gets up in front of a specific audience and starts drinking a 40, when they probably never drank a 40 before in their entire life, when somebody goes on a radio show and says stuff like, I was smoking weed, listening to Tupac, right? When when she was doing that, and when she was in college, he wasn't even out yet. His information or his music wasn't even out yet. That's called pandering, and that's called trying to manipulate people because of mistruths, right? When you stand on the truth, when you stand on an idea, when you put yourself out there, and regardless of what you think of Trump, that guy says what he's thinking. He says what he's thinking. You don't have to guess. It's either on Twitter or it's coming out of his own damn mouth. And I don't, and a lot of people don't like the shit that he says sometimes, but he's not pandering to anybody, right? He's not pandering. He's executing on what he believes are his best ideas. And he has opposition called the judiciary, the House, and the Senate to fight back against those ideas. And that's the greatness of this country. Okay. That's the greatness of how this whole thing works. Everybody's freaking out. Oh my God, he's going to become a dictator. If you know anything about the way that our government works, nobody can step into that role and become a dictator. I mean, I guess never is a strong word, and you should probably never use it. But at the end of the day, there's rules and there's pushback, and you've seen it. All of the stuff that he's trying to do, he has a backstop there. It's called the Democrats. Now, whether their backstop is going to keep them in office, I don't know. And so, yeah, right, Robert? Well, why does it have to be explained? Because we're losing perspective. That's my biggest takeaway is that we are, I get it. Lauren, you're making a good point there. He says it makes it very difficult to take a person seriously when he says it's okay to grab her by the pee. That's one of the cuss words that I don't say. We found one, but true. Now, if you go back through history and you look at Benjamin Franklin, right, and you look into his personal life, this country, and I've said this before in other conversations, that this country is run, and the world has had great leadership from people that stepped up in times of need when they had really bad personal morals, right, on the back end. And I'm not speaking that about Donald Trump, but I'm just saying some of the shit that he said. You can listen to all of his shows on Howard Stern, and Howard Stern says some of the most disgusting stuff that anybody's ever heard before, and he's the king of all media, right? Because he speaks his mind, and whatever he speaks is probably something that you've thought before, or you haven't heard it before, and you get to react to it. Okay. You have to react to it. And how you react to it is up to you. You can take the channel and go, oh, I don't like Howard Stern, or I turned it on, and we can and now I can listen to him. Oh, these are ideas, and I like the ideas, some of them, and some of them I reject. It's just called educating yourself. And if something comes up to the level of causing pain in other people's lives, taking advantage of them, bullying them, making decisions because of somebody's color, skin color, or because of their sex, or because of their sexual preference, that's the time that you fight, right? And you don't fight with guns in this country. You don't fight with destroying everybody. You fight with the power of your ideas, which is exactly what the backlash was when the Democrats took back over the House. That's what happens. And they've stopped a lot of what was, what Donald Trump wants to do. That's how this country works. And if we destroy that very foundation of how it works, what are we going to be left with? If the left wins, we end up with Venezuela. If the right wins, we end up with Hitler, right? That's why we fight these battles in the battlefield of ideas and words. Okay. That is my takeaway. Let me see what's going on over here. I see. Right. And it's let's see. So let me go back to the point I was trying to make. If your pessimism is based in just destruction, then it's useless to everybody, most importantly yourself. If your pessimism is solution-based pessimism, then you're adding to the content or the validity of the argument in such a way that at least your idea gets heard. It may not be implemented, and you may get upset about it, but at the end of the day, your idea can be heard in this country. Your idea can make it out there into the court of public opinion. and it can be rejected out of hand. It can be accepted. It can be partially accepted. That's the beauty of this country. That's the beauty of having discussion. It's the beauty of having an open mind. So let's see what they're doing here. Yep. Friction causes solutions or creates solutions. Anyway, I'm not going to pay complete attention over here, but be nice to each other. That's all I have to say. If you want to remain in the in the environment, but yeah, because we respect each other's opinion. On my show, that's the reason that it exists, is to give people, you can say whatever the hell it is that you want until you start trying to destroy somebody else's character. That's the only thing that's the only line I draw. Let's see. Now, when you're faced with it, now this is a big piece of it. Okay. When you're faced with it, and we talked about this a little bit in the Next Impactor yesterday, with Lauren Harrison and the crew. But when you're faced with a difficult decision, or you're faced with rejection, your idea isn't good. It's not playing out to be good. It doesn't have relevancy. Your idea or your opinion is being hammered because there's a better argument for it, right? Where do you go? Because this is really the biggest point. If we're going to ever change anything, we got to look at the person in the mirror, and that's who I'm speaking with, is you as an individual and me as an individual. Where do you go? A lot of people go to blaming. Okay. If when you are being beaten in an argument, you go to blame, that is weakness, right? You blame the other side. You blame this, you blame that. When you're rejected, or when your idea is rejected. How about quitting, right? Going away, just saying, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to quit, and I'm going to go join the keyboard warriors out there. And I'm never going to add any value to any conversation except for the people that believe exactly as I do, right? That's quitting. That's giving up. If you believe whatever it is that you believe, okay, and it may be completely opposite of the way that I believe, but if you believe it, then you shouldn't quit. You should keep going. And along that path and that journey, as I found in my own life, you are better informed along the way. You're better informed for your argument to keep believing as you believe, or God forbid, you change your belief system. We have so many people, and I witnessed it in a couple of scenarios this last week, where I was speaking about my personal experience with mental health and my personal experience with abuse in my own family, and my opinions and how I got through it became offensive to somebody in the audience, right? It became offensive to them, and they complained because I was speaking about my life in general, because it bounced up against what they're told, which is basically, we're told a lot these days that your feelings matter. They don't fucking matter. They don't matter in the terms of, you got to back them up. If you have strong feelings, then you got to back them up by action. You got to back them up by strengthening your argument. You got to, you look at it. If I would have accepted all of the mental health and the abuse and all the other bullshit that's been floating around out there, and not fought back against it from a different perspective, who the hell knows where I'd be today? Because a lot of responsibility for the individuals being taken away as an excuse. Yes, somebody called you a name. Yes, somebody offended you, and that they're giving power to weakness, making people more weak, instead of saying, you know what? I understand that you feel that way, but what are you going to do about it? How are you going to let that impact your life? Are you going to sit back and whine and cry and bitch and moan and accept people's diagnosis of you that we don't even know? They call, in the world of being a doctor, they call it practice for a reason, right? They're practicing. And a lot of shit that they thought was true 50 years ago is no longer true. As a matter of fact, the stuff that they used to think about the prescribing of cocaine, right? Or that smoking was healthy. All of the stuff, who knows what we're being told today is going to be something that was destructive to our health as opposed to constructive. And so the issue is, you got to figure out what works best for you. And weakness never is the best option. It's never the best option. So, got it. Being able to hold those two ideas in two disparate ideas in your mind at the same time. The other thing, blame, quitting. How about making excuses? making excuses. I know a lot of people, especially in this country, that make excuses. I'm this, I'm that, I've got this, all of that kind of shit. The strongest people on the face of the planet don't make excuses. They don't make excuses because everybody's got a challenge. On my team of 10 people that are in the next Impactor, I have 10 people that are challenged in different ways, and they joined a competition so that they could improve upon those, so that they could overcome their weaknesses, so that they could build on their strengths. That to me is the human condition. And if you get conditioned to accept weakness, when you get conditioned as far as weakness, and that it's okay that you can tell anybody in the world that you're feeling about your feelings, but I just saw some comments going on over here. Yeah, the Illuminati's getting you down. I get an offer of that in my inbox all the time. You want to be a member of the Illuminati? Probably not the way I'm going to be approached if I get asked to be one, which I probably never will. But anyways, so the point being is that you've got these 10 different people that have challenges, and they're overcoming them, and they're competing, right? And they're being faced day in and day out. Even the founders of the competition are being challenged every single day with the way that they believe about life, the way that they believe about people, about their approach to life. And that's the human condition. And you can make excuses and completely check out mentally and live in a world that is fantasy land, or you can figure out that people, especially, just go to a different country, right? If you're a woman in America and you want to go to another country to see how the women in those countries, we've got a woman that I'm going to bring on the show that works in South Africa. Read about the statistics about how women have been treated in South Africa, how she's fought for the last 10 years to get some basic human rights for some of the women in that country, and put it in perspective of what you have and the tools that you've been given to fight against real world injustices, right? When you have things that come up about your feelings, it's very hard to fight against someone ever hurting your feelings. It's very, very difficult to fight against somebody. Oh, you know what? I'm going to put a law on the books that says, Irk, you can no longer hurt anybody else's feelings on the face of the planet, because we don't want their delicate sensibilities to be disturbed. Okay. And put a law on the books that Irk can no longer piss anybody else off. Seriously? Seriously? I'll say it again. Seriously. You cannot legislate morality. You cannot legislate how you feel, and you can't make other people pay attention all the time to how you're feeling, 99% because they're thinking about themselves, not you, right? And that's the world that we live in, and that's a reality that we've got to deal with. So your ability to build up a thick skin, your ability to be able to fight real injustices, and you feeling bad about something is not a real injustice, okay? Being held prisoner in your own home as a domestic violence victim, that's a real injustice that needs to be addressed, okay? How you feel about the words that were said on your campus is not a real injustice. Poor you. They're hitting your eardrums. Oh my gosh. Leave the room. If you don't want to hear it, leave the room, change the channel, turn down the volume. Don't watch it. Go somewhere else that your feelings are protected, and see how far in life success-wise you get. Because business is full of people getting their feelings hurt. War is full of people getting their not only their feelings hurt, but their bodies dismembered and killed. And so, look at all of the different areas in life where people are that makes this big world go round, and go to Africa, right? In different countries, go to the DRC in Africa and see how much they care about your feelings, right? Go some places in the Middle East, go to China, right? Go to China, see how much they give a shit about your feelings. You have a rating in China. You have a rating of how good of a person you are that will determine whether you can get on an airplane or not. Did you know that? What if that was happening here? All of you people that are that not all of you people, but all of the people that are screaming about the fact that this is a dictatorship. Really? Why don't you check into what a dictatorship actually is? How about that? And then let's have a discussion. So yeah, how would you like to be rated in this country based on your social media? Are you supportive of the government? Aren't you? The less supportive you are of the government, the less you're going to be able to do, the lower your rating, the less freedom you have, the less money you can make. That's not what this country is. Okay. Making excuses. The other one is enrolling other people in your disbelief. This is, I got to tell you, and I said it last night, that this is the one that makes me the angriest, is people who want to quit, who want to blame, who want to make excuses when they want to do those things that they feel like they have to enroll other people in their disbelief. That is the biggest form of cowardice. I see it in a lot of times when I go into an audience, because I'm not exactly gentle when I speak, but there's always somebody that's in the back of the room and they're doing the snarky faces, or they're talking and they're trying to get everybody else to pay attention because I have struck a chord of something that they're angry about, or that they know they need to change. Because everybody that knows me, everybody that watches me, everybody that pays attention to me at all knows that I come at things from a heart-based, love-based perspective. That doesn't mean that my words are going to be easy. It doesn't mean that the things that I'm going to say are always going to be come across as kind and loving and pat you on the booty and say, poor baby, you're just because this, that, and the other. When I'm surrounded by heroes that are on this thread, that are watching this right now, I'm surrounded by them and I'm watch them overcome every single challenge that exists: drug abuse, rape, just go across the board, right? Genuine racism, homophobia, all of the different things that people have experienced. I'm surrounded by champions who don't allow that. It makes them stronger, as a matter of fact. They did not accept the lie that because they believe a different way, or because somebody else got thought something or hurt their feelings, they didn't believe the lie that they were a less than. They used it to become more than they could have in the past, without being faced with confrontation, without being faced with something that they had to overcome, and without being faced with having to overcome the weaknesses in our own spirit. My grandfather, again, I'll say it again. My grandfather used to say, Jason, you won't be offended if you can't be. I didn't understand it when he said it. I didn't understand it until he passed. That it's my choice whether I'm going to be offended or not, and how much value exists in Jason Cisneros being offended by anything. Whether you liked my speaking engagement, whether you like my show, whether you like my haircut, whether you like my suits, whether you like, what the fuck am I going to do with the rest of my life if I'm standing around worried about what everybody else thinks? I'm here to deliver value at the highest level that I possibly can in every area with every breath that I take. That's my charge. And am I going to piss people off along the way? Guarantee it. I got a list. I keep the list of the people that I offend the most, but I'm not doing it from a perspective of trying to advance myself. I am giving my opinion from my perspective. And there's a lot of people out there that are like me, that have overcome challenges, that didn't get handed that deck of cards, right? I get judged by the color of my skin these days. You're white privilege. I've heard that all over the place, when I'm really, very little portion of me is white, right? And at the end of the day, who the fuck cares what my color is? It's the content of my heart. It's the outcome, okay? It's the outcome of what my actions are doing. Earlier in my life, I was part of the douchebag club. I hurt people. I didn't care about what my actions were. I thought I was going to die young, all of that kind of shit. And since I've gotten older and matured and had to look that person in the face, it called myself in the mirror and look myself in the face and say, the shit that you're doing is not right. The way that you think about life is not right. The way that you think about life is going to leave a worse generation of your children unless you straighten this shit out. And that was painful. It was tough. I struggled through it. I still struggle with some of my old beliefs. And I think that that's part of being human and being part of progressing in life. So So that last group of people, right? If you want to quit, quit. If you want to blame somebody else, blame somebody else. Go for it. If you want to make excuses, make excuses, but leave other people the fuck out of it. Don't bring them along. Do not try to infect other people with your disbelief and your negativity, because you are interrupting in somebody else's destiny, and you don't want that on your shoulders, right? You don't want that. You definitely don't want to carry that with you. If there is karma, if there is an afterlife, if there isn't another lifetime that you come back as something different, you don't want that shit carried forward with you. Deal with your own shit and don't enroll other people in your damn negativity. Now, again, all of these rules go out the window when you're dealing with somebody that's being harmed, right? When somebody that can't stand up for themselves, they need us. And they don't need us battling with phantom feelings about somebody looked at me wrong, or doesn't like my haircut, or doesn't like my skin color, or doesn't like my sexual orientation, or doesn't like all that kind of shit. That is weakness, y'all. You know it is. Preaching to the choir right now, because, you know, a lot of you that I see on here have similar beliefs, right? We've challenged each other. A lot of you I've gone head to head with on our beliefs, and we fought it out. You know, Lauren and I have battled it out. We've hung up the phone on each other before. He's called me a bitch, which is fine. He can. And I still love him, because the way that he believes is not going to impact the way that I believe, unless his argument is stronger, which it has been along the way, not all the time. So I want to go into, now that we've gotten that one out of the way, let me move this out of the way. I want to talk about something else here real quick. I want to talk about, from the perspective of somebody else, 10 great things. I'm going to run through these, because this is about being positive. It's about looking at things through a lens of abundance. It's about looking at it through a lens of, you know, what's great, right? We have this process that we run everybody through in my organization, and that I teach as much as I possibly can, called GBD. What was great about today? Because a lot of people go to bed with what they messed up. What could be better? That's getting the Pollyanna out of the equation. And what will I do differently tomorrow, which is the master step of action, right? And so what's great, right? And this was by D'Souza. You guys can look him up. He's an amazing guy. Number one, America provides an amazingly good life for the ordinary guy. He gives examples. You guys, I'll post this link up here in a minute. Number two, America offers more opportunity and social mobility than any other country, including the countries of Europe. Okay. Number three, work and trade are respectable in America. Nobody's looked down upon. You're not really treated horribly. You know, whenever somebody's working in a particular trade, I remember, you know, peeling logs and shoveling shit at a mine, and then laying carpet and tearing that nasty carpet out of people's places. All of that kind of stuff. You're not really judged because of that. Yeah. You know, if you're a prick, you're going to judge everybody around you, whether they are a waiter or waitress or somebody else like that. But if you're a decent human being and you have that American idea that that person that's laying your carpet could eventually be somebody who's training Harvard, Wharton Business School of Business people, most people believe that. And so how you treat somebody today, you never know if they're going to be your boss tomorrow. Not in this country, you don't. So you better treat everybody kindly. America has achieved greater social equality than any other society. People live longer, fuller lives in America. That's starting to decline just a little bit. But in America, the destiny of the young is not given to them, but created by them. This is something that's so powerful, y'all, that I find is one of the most important things. In other words, no matter where you're born, you can change. You can change that perspective. You can come out of the slums of Harlem, or you can come out of wherever it is, and you can make something of your life in this country. And people still believe that, and they still achieve that. And that's the big thing that I wanted to go over there. Number 7, America has gone further than any other society in establishing equality of rights. I already spoke about that. Gay rights, women's rights, racial equality. You know, and here's another thing, right? That stats and research don't always. I'll give you 2 examples. Okay, when people think, they're asked in across the spectrum, Democrat and Republican, do you think you got a tax cut? Right? And 40% of the people do, 60% of the people don't. Do you feel like you got a tax cut? And then you run the research and 90% of the people have more money because of the tax cut, right? Those are figures running into people's feelings. And it wasn't a judgmental research. It was just saying, hey, do you feel like you got a tax cut? And people are going, well, I don't feel like it. But when you measure by financial matters and financial means, math, when your opinion meets math, math always wins. Okay. And the other one is that race relations have gotten worse under Donald Trump. And a university, and it's escaping me which one right now, I think Pennsylvania, but there was a university that did some research on race relations in this country since he's been elected. And there was not just a small decline in racism. It was a sharp decline, and it even freaked them out. And some people, depending on which side of the equation you're on, they say it was such a backlash against somebody that was elected that's such a racist, which I don't believe, that they made it, they made their facts kind of they made their facts fit their feelings, in other words. And then the other side of it is that he's created more jobs in those minority communities. He's doing things to get people out of prison for small bullshit things, and so on and so forth. Again, it's facts versus feelings. And those are two really, really immediate examples that come to mind for me. America has found a solution to the problem of religious and ethnic conflict that continues to divide and terrorize much of the world. I don't need to add anything to that. Again, if you've traveled, if you can travel outside of your own bubble and Google shit about religious and ethnic conflict that happens in other countries, and then look what's happening here, you'll see that that's true. America has the kindest, gentlest foreign policy of any great power in world history. We do not go as conquerors. We go in for different reasons. And again, I get hammered all the time when I talk about this, that we went into this country because of oil. Again, for the most part, we go in on the side of what's right for the little guy, right? That's been, if you go through history, it's hard to disprove that point. America is the freest nation on earth, is also the most virtuous nation on earth. Now, that's more opinion, but he gives a lot of facts if you want to go through them, and his facts back up what he's saying, okay, from his belief. Now, not everything that he says do I agree with. Absolutely not. But those are 10 things that I believe are a better way to look at this country. It's a better way to look at the country that you live in if you're American. I know I've got people across the pond and in other countries that watch, but for the most part, this is a great country. Now, I want to end it with my belief about what I believe is coming. Okay, what I believe is in the horizon, that's coming down the pike for us. Okay, and I believe now there's trade wars going on. There's pushback against different regimes. You see China and Russia having this little powwow that they had. And there's signs out there that, anything can go a different direction. But with the policies and the procedures and this resurgence of what's going on in this country, again, you just have to do the math. Savings accounts are up, more money going into people's pocket, more people that are leaving their corporate job to start businesses. Especially, there's a huge surge in women-owned startups, minority-owned startups. They're both outpacing white startups. Okay, not that really matters, but it's a leading indicator of a recovering or resurgent or surging economy. Now, what are you doing to prepare for that? Right? What are you doing to prepare for that? Because, and this is really the crux of why I wanted to have this discussion. If you think America is bad, if you think that Trump is the devil, if you think that Obama is the devil, you're spending your time on shit that does not and will never, ever support you. You have one vote, right? And you have the opportunity to go out and canvass and to try to convince other people, start a show, talk about it, whatever it is, you can put in as little or as much effort as you want to getting Donald Trump out of office if that is your outcome. Okay. Why? I don't know. If you're doing it for feelings, I would just suggest maybe going through some math and seeing, how the good things that are happening for the little guy, right? Blue collared wages are rising faster than supervisors. There's all kinds of things that are happening that are really, really great as fundamentals in this country. So my question for everybody is, as I close out this show tonight, is what are you going to do with the environment that you find in front of you? How are you going to label it? What was great about today? What could be better? And what will you do as an individual? What will I do as an individual differently tomorrow? And that means it's going to end up on your calendar. That means it's going to end up in you doing something different. Therein lies the challenge, is if you don't like something and you do nothing about it, then you are a coward, right? Or you're displaying cowardice tendencies. I've been a coward in my life. I know everybody that's on here has been a coward in different parts of your life, but the Misfit Nation is about action. It's about staring down those things in the mirror that we know are stopping us, that we know we need to address so that we can overcome our own barriers. Because a lot of the ones that everybody's setting up out there, as far as racism and all this other kind of stuff, they're barriers that no longer hold the weight. If there's been one Mexican, if there's been one Asian, if there's been one black, if there's been one white, if there's been one Irish person, if there's been one of them that has been able to succeed in this country, follow the pattern of what they did. And I guarantee you they weren't sitting around sucking their thumb, worried about their feelings. Even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right, who is completely on the other side of the conservative spectrum, the stuff that woman had to go through should be the playbook for every American that wants to overcome adversity, because she faced shit down that very few people that are watching this will ever have to face down. And it's by those principles, the principles and the culture that I believe are so important to this country that we need to hold on to with dear life, of freedom, of doing what's right, of protecting the vulnerable, of stepping up, putting your life on the line where it's necessary. And that's what I love about this country, is that promise still exists and it's still delivered on. I live it every day, y'all. So it's hard to have this argument with me that somebody that came from my background with all the bullshit and all the loser shit and all of the stuff that I had that I was handed as a shit pie when I was a kid, that shit pie has become my strength. I've been able to change the meaning of things that I thought were holding me down, and now they lift me up. My adopted father, I'm so grateful because he beat into me a strength that wouldn't exist if he wouldn't have been in my life. Watching my mom stand in government lines for government cheese with a broken arm from being prisoner in her own home. There was no fucking privilege. None whatsoever. That was strength. That was moral strength. That was her not quitting. That was her not giving up. That was her overcoming all of the barriers with a smile on her fucking face and saying, "What's next? We got this. Jason, you're going to grow up to change the world." Feeding into me the little bits of positivity that she possibly could. Who are you being that for in your own world? Is it you that needs to have that certainty fed into your own life by yourself? Nobody's coming to save us. That means that you're there to save you. You're drawing breath. You have a roof over your head for the most part. You have food in your belly for the most part. Those of you that are watching this have a way of communicating for the most part. At the end of the day, this is just a siren's call. Misfit Nation and all the people that are joining and piling in and seeing if they like this bald freak or not, welcome. It's not, these conversations aren't easy. And I don't have them to fight with people. I have them to give my perspective and to offer what I see in successful people. And that doesn't always mean money. It means relationships with their health. I study people that are happy in this world and what makes them happy. And there's a big fundamental difference between the people that are happy in this world and the people that aren't. And it goes back to those four things. Are you blaming? Are you making excuses? Are you quitting? Are you taking people down with you? And if you are, you're not experiencing all of the beauty that this world has to offer, all of the beauty that this country has to offer, because you're too busy looking for shit. And guess what? No matter what you look for, you're going to find more of it. And so whether you agree with me or you disagree with me, I'm glad you're here. No matter if I offend somebody, it's not because I'm trying to hurt you. It's because of my experiences and my belief system as they stand with the people that I watch, and including in my own family and my own life. I come from love. The only other perspective, as I've heard many times, the only other place to come from is fear. And so checking in the mirror, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Face that shit down, get to the other side of it, and become a warrior for those people that genuinely need you. That's a call. That's what Misfit Nation's all about. That's why the Bald Avenger was started. And I appreciate each and every one of you, everybody that's listening to this message. If you're screaming at the top of your lungs, you write me hate mail, I appreciate it. All right? We talked about it on the show I did with Lauren the other day. It's like the Highlander. The more hate I get, the more souls I know I'm touching. And even if you hate me, I love you. You can't make me hate you. Unless you're hurting other people, you can't make me hate you. If you're hurting other people, the vulnerable, taking advantage, bullying, doing any of that kind of shit, now we got a problem. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me on a Monday night, y'all. I appreciate you. I should have paid more attention to the comments, but I'll go back through them and I will respond to them. And I just wanted to, again, for Misfit Nation, for all of you watchers, followers of the Bald Avenger show, people that are sharing the show, people that are joining the charities that we put out there, people that are participating in the Power of We, people are participating in the Next Impactor, people that are just putting your asses out on the line each and every day and not getting the positive feedback that you need. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm so fucking grateful that you're part of my family. And that is it until next Monday when it's just Jason again. I'll see you then. Peace.